Hello and welcome to our 28-day Strong Hip Challenge. I'm Sai, co-founder of Strongband, and I'll be taking you through this session. So this is session A of our first week. We don't actually need any equipment today, but I do have this optional massive book of Australia, which I'll be using for the first exercise, just to help give me some feedback and keep me nice and honest. So I do suggest using it if you do have one, or a yoga block will work even better. Let's get into it. So we're coming down onto all fours here into a tabletop position. You can just leave your book or your block to the side for now if you're using one. Hands are going to be under shoulders, knees are going to be under hips, and we're just going to create a strong core position here. So think about pushing the floor away and then slightly tucking that tailbone, so we're creating a nice bit of tension in the core. Don't think about super bracing it until you sort of go red in the face. We want it just to be about 20% tension to keep this strong position. Okay, now if you're using your book or your block, you're just going to place it on top of your hips or on your lower back here, which is going to give you some feedback to make sure you're not rocking side to side or moving up and down here. Okay, from here we're going into our fire hydrant. So bring your knees in together, keep that core nice and strong, and then bring your right leg out to the side and control it back in. I just had my first click of the morning there, you might be feeling that. We're going for 8 reps here, and I just want you to think about breathing in and out, in and out. We've got 2 more. See how much range you've got in this hip. Okay, and the other side. So we are going to be coming back to this exercise every morning or every day for the next couple of weeks. So really notice how this feels. It should start feeling more comfortable. You should feel like you've got a bit more range as the days go. Okay, last one there. All right, we're going into our kickbacks next. So knees come back together, core stays nice and strong, right leg comes all the way up. So keep that knee bent, and we're thinking about really contracting our glute here. So we're getting a nice stretch in the hip flexors and a nice contraction in the glutes. Okay, 4 more here. Keep the core strong. Last 2. And final 1. Great, other side now. So this is a great warm-up you can do every day, in the morning, in the evening, as a movement snack. These are movements of the hips that are so important for our healthy functioning, but we often don't do them enough in the day, so we are now. Okay, last one here. Great. All right, you can take your book or your block off. If you're using one, just put it to the side, and we're going to come into our hip flexor stretch next. So we're going to come into this half kneeling position. You can use a cushion or an extra bit of padding on your knees for this if you need that for extra comfort. You can also hold onto a wall or a block or anything you have for a bit of balance and support here. So I've got my left knee in front, we're working our right side here. Now, the most important thing here is what we call a posterior pelvic tilt. So essentially, you imagine your hip is a bucket here, it's filled with water. And what we want to do is gently just spill a bit of that water behind us here. So we're tensing our glute, we're contracting our glute and getting a nice stretch through this hip flexor. So I'm in this posterior pelvic tilt position here, or lots of people like to say tucking that tailbone. And I should already feel it, you should already feel it in your hip flexor here. If you want a bit of a deeper stretch, you can just gently lean forward while keeping that hip position nice and strong. Okay, we're going to breathe in and out. We want to really relax into this. We're just going to spend a nice bit of time here. And the more we can relax, the more our bodies will allow us to get deeper into the stretch and feel more comfortable here. So we're sort of having to trick our brains into enjoying this. So just tell yourself, I love it here. We'll take 2 more deep breaths in and out. And if you want to get that a little bit deeper to end, breathe in and out. All right, great stuff. We're going to the other side. So just swap legs. Got my right leg in front. First things first is that posterior pelvic tilt here. So holding this position, you should already feel a little bit of a stretch in that hip flexor, and then if you want, you can lean forward slightly, and then we're going into those deep breaths. In and out. Just notice how this is feeling. Keep everything else nice and relaxed. And just a couple things to remember. Just make sure you're not sort of leaning all the way forwards here and losing that posterior pelvic tilt. This hip position is going to be the most important thing to get that stretch. So keep that there first, and then lean forwards a little bit. And then just try not to lift the rib cage too much here. We want the rib cage to be down as well to keep our core nice and braced there. Okay. Last 3 breaths in and out. Feel your glutes start to tire. That should be what we're going for, to make sure you're bracing the glute, squeezing the glute while stretching the hip flexor. Last breath in and out. All right, that is us all done for our session A. Hope your hips are feeling nice and stretched, and we'll see you in the next session. Bye.